Hi, the topic of this video is creating worksheets. So when we're teaching the students about creating a worksheet, the first thing I do is explain to them what a worksheet is. You may want to have them look it up in the textbook. You may want to have someone read the meaning of a worksheet out loud from the textbook, but then I always give them the teacher explanation or a simplified explanation. So as always, we're using the Southwest 10th edition as we learn this concept of creating a worksheet. And the worksheet is chapter 6 in the textbook, which starts on page 159. But I like to use the example worksheet that's on page 171. On page 171, because it's a completed worksheet, and I can give all my explanations from that one page. So in the textbook, it says the definition of a worksheet is a columnar accounting form used to summarize general ledger information needed to prepare financial statements. A columnar accounting form used to summarize the general ledger information needed to prepare financial statements. So what I simply say to my students is that a worksheet is a rough draft for our financial statements. The worksheet is a rough draft for our financial statements. It's where we do all of our work, make sure all of our numbers are correct before we actually create our financial statement reports that will be used to make financial decisions for the company. So that's how I break it down for the students. So when we are teaching them about a worksheet, it is important for them to know the structure of the worksheet. So on the board here, I have actually did the layout of my worksheet, and I actually have my students create this layout in their notebook so that they can fill it in with all the important information I'm going to explain to them about a worksheet. So it always starts with the heading. I teach them about report headings, which is on page 159, because report headings are used on all of our reports. So the report heading is on page 159, and I encourage the students to write down page numbers in their notebook so that they can refer back to those pages in their textbook when they're trying to better understand concepts, lock them in, review, and study. So a report heading, no matter what the report is, has three components: the name of the company, the name of the report, and the date of the report. That is a test question most of the time. Either what are the report heading components, parts of report heading, what's missing out of this report heading. So it's good for them to know that all reports need to have headings. I also stress to them that reports are created for other people to read. They're not created for us to read. We're accountants, we made them, we understand them. The reports are made so that someone else can understand them. So the more details and the more structured the reports are, the easier they are for other people to understand. So that's the first part, the report headings. So next we have all the columns in the worksheet. And it's important for them to understand the process and the flow of the information. So in column number 1, we have the account title. So we let them know that all the accounts that go into this report come from the general ledger. So every single account that is in the general ledger will be listed in this list. You can also tell them that every single account that is in the chart of accounts will be in this list. Okay? So I would write in this, and I would have my students to write, because the purpose of writing it out like this is so they will understand how it's formatted and where the information is coming from. So every account from the chart of accounts is listed. Okay? So every account from the chart of accounts is listed in the account title section. So next we go into the trial balance. So I teach what a trial balance is. They have to understand the concept of a trial balance. So in your textbook, you can have the students go to page 160. So the trial balance section is in page 160. And it tells them what a trial balance is. And I usually have students read from the textbook a proof of the equality of debits and credits in a general ledger. Trial balance, the proof of equality of the debits and credits in a general ledger. And as always, when I give them the textbook definition, I give them a breakdown from, I call it the teacher definition or Showalter's definition. And I would say the trial balance is making sure that your debits and credits are equal. Your debits and credits must match. You must have the same total. When you add up all your debits and add up all your credits, the final number must be the same for your trial balance to be correct. So, where does the information come from? The general ledger. So here you would enter the balance of each account from the general ledger into the trial balance. So every account title is listed. Then you go to the general ledger and the balance of that account is listed. So all the debit balances go on the debit side, and then all the credit balances go on the credit side. And when we finish, the total should equal. Okay? Debits equal credits. Okay? So then we go to our adjustments column. So remember in a previous video, I explained that I teach adjustments separately. So what I tell them here is that I need for them to write that adjustments are a journal entry. So here they write journal entry. Okay. So there in the adjustments column, they write that the adjustments is a journal entry, and I leave it there. We don't explain adjustments. I don't go in detail because I teach this whole column separately. So here I just have them write that they need to know that the adjustment section is a journal entry. Then next we go to the income statement section of the worksheet. So at this point, I have already introduced the concept of financial statements to the students. They know that we have two financial statements that we must create, income statement and the balance sheet. Two financial statements, the income statement and the balance sheet. So what they need to know here is what goes into each one of the reports. So the income statement is the financial statement that determines if the company is making money. So that's usually how I define it for the students. The income statement determines if the company is making money. And if the company is making money, they're able to determine their next decision. So, what makes up the income statement? Sales minus expenses. That gives us net income or net loss. Only sales and expense accounts are in the income statement section. The normal balance of sales is credit. The normal balance of expenses is debit. The difference lets us know if we have net income or net loss. If we have more sales than expenses, we have net income. If we have more expenses than sales, we have a net loss. And then the last column is the balance sheet. So the balance sheet is the accounting equation. It lets the reader of the report know if, not if, but what the company's value is, the value of the company. So the balance sheet is assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. So what goes in the balance sheet? All accounts except sales and expenses. Okay? So when I first teach the worksheet, we start like this. So we kind of explain each one of the columns, and then I give them a new vocabulary word to learn, and it's the word extend. Extend. So we learn the word extend. Okay. So I ask them what do they think it means. A lot of people give it explanations. So then I tell them that in the worksheet, we are going to extend the information across the page. So once we enter information into the trial balance, we move the amounts across the row to either the income statement or the balance sheet. Never both. Okay? So we move the information across the rows. The amount is either going to stop in the income statement or the balance sheet. You will never have an amount from an account that's in the income statement and the balance sheet. That is very important for them to understand. So the process of moving that amount from the trial balance across is called extending the amount, extending, because they can see that language in a test question and you want them to be able to understand it. So this is the basic structure of a worksheet. This is how you read it, how the basic information is entered into the worksheet. So then I will teach them how to break down the bottom portion of the worksheet. And we'll do that in the next video.